event. And the topic will be understanding the current funding landscape, challenges and opportunities for tech entrepreneurs. So in this, our moderator is Mr. Michael Doherty. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mr. Michael on stage, the CEO of Doherty Capital LLC. All of you please put your hands together for Mr. Michael. And we have our panelists, Amrit Kaur, the co-founder and CEO of Mantraverse. All of you please put your hands together for Amrit. And also our second panelist is Dr. Gopi Krishna, the co-founder and CEO of Essentia Research and Development Solutions. So we will begin with the panel discussion. All of you enjoy.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. So we're going to be talking to you about the funding challenges, the opportunities for tech founders. So we've got two great people who have lots of experience, different experience as well. So we've got Mike, who will cover things from a banking perspective, and then we have Gopi Krishna, who will cover everything from like a founder and a startup perspective. In between, I'll give my experience as well, working with startups and mentoring. So I guess what we're going to do is start with some questions. But before we do that, we're going to do some introductions. So over to you, Mike.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Doherty. I hope my Irish accent, you'll be able to understand what I'm saying, but I will definitely try and slow it down. Look, I come from a banking background. Been involved in investment banking, corporate structuring, and even startups myself, so I should be able to have a good round view of it.
Very good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Gopi Krishna Santanam, having a doctorate in Management Information Systems on branding and strategies. I come from a startup background, serial entrepreneur. This is my third startup which I'm running in IT and R&D services. Apart from this, I recently took the key advisory in Government of India for planning and disaster management in agriculture. And one of my recent achievement is the drone policy 2022 of Government of India was authored by me. And I'm working right now on behavioral data patterns in healthcare industry and IoT with prosthetics. And we have an extensive agricultural research team also. Thank you.
Great, and in terms of my experience, so I've had over 20 years experience in the tech industry. Most recently, I've been working with startups, mentoring them. I've also launched a few of my own startups. So I think I have some good experience in terms of the funding challenges and the opportunities alike. So what we'll do is we'll start with the first question. So in terms of the challenges, from a banking perspective, we'll start with what are the challenges you've seen for tech entrepreneurs in different industries, in different regions you've worked in? What have you experienced?
I suppose, apart from the general challenges that we have every day from a funding perspective, the last number of years have been very difficult, between wars, interest rates going from 0% to 5%. It has really dried up a lot. And you'll tend to see there's a lot of funding pull from venture capitalists and so forth, which would be the main driving force, I suppose, in the tech sector. If you take it, in the last 3 years, investment into venture capitalists has dropped 88% in this region. But still, if we look at pre-COVID, 2016, we were looking at about 200 million invested in this category. Last year, there was 3 billion invested. So there is money out there. You just need to know where to look and to get it. One of the main challenges I feel at the moment, especially in this sector, is there is a lack of initiative or ideas. So you get a lot of people in the tech industry that come up with an idea, and they believe that it's fantastic, but it's not changing anything. So from somebody that provides capital, you probably get 50 or 60 different, proposals a day. So you got to work through all that, and that's really where we are today. So you have a number of factors. You have lack of funding, you have conflicts around the world, which makes everyone a little bit nervous, interest rates going up because of that. So it's a difficult time, but the good news is there is money out there. You just need to look for it, I suppose.
And then from a founder, entrepreneur's perspective, what are the challenges you've sort of come across?
First of all, I'm very happy from Mr. Mike's that money is abundantly available. So I can first give you a proposal immediately after this, and that's what everybody's mindset is. I would like to do this as a very practical session wherein I'm also one of you among these leadership people and innovators, keeping passion as robust and on the top of the level and innovating a lot of ideas. Fine, yes, as he was very nicely mentioning, he gets 50 proposals, I would say 50 different unique proposals, but it is very hard to find which is suiting the market, what is right to take up, what are the challenges in it, what is the growth pattern in it, what is the risk behind it. So there are a lot of questions as an investor, and it is the sole duty of we, the startup people, the startup community, to address all those in your proposal, or I could say in the early stages when you are conceptualizing your company or a product, actually, first of all. So I would like to tell you a small story, if you can allow, a very practical story probably. There is a person out of a village, we call him in traditionally Mullah Muhammad in Tamil language. He has a donkey with him. Okay, I will correlate these two characters into the market later after the story is over. So he drives, I could say the donkey drives him every day instead of he actually. So the first day he took up his donkey, put loads of clothes or something on the donkey, and he wants to go in the right direction, donkey went in the left direction. And he was taming the donkey to go in the right, no, but the donkey did not listen to him, it was going in the left. The second day he stood up, did the same, the donkey was going in the right direction, he wants to go in the left direction. So then 3-4 days passed by, and one day he wants to rush up, the donkey was going very slowly. Then he decided, okay fine, now I don't go to fight with the donkey anymore. So whichever direction or whichever speed the donkey goes tomorrow, let me take that and I will follow the donkey. That's why I said donkey was driving him. So he decided to go as per the donkey instructs him, actually, it is reverse. Now, we have to correlate this with our market segment. Market is a donkey. Market does not wait for us. Market is running. There are so many people who are already having a solution. There are so many people having a problem. It goes in different directions because challenges are growing every day. And there are some output which is coming for meeting the challenges or winning the challenges. So it is we who have to go with the direction of challenges or take our mindset or conceptualization towards the challenges. And we should not say that I designed this product, I have put in my blood, skin, my investment, my passion into this, so industry has to buy. No, that's not the story, nobody will buy. We as a leader or an innovator, we are working to solve the industry problems. We are not working to develop a product and attach a challenge to it or a pain to it. So that is one problem which we have to address. When we are properly addressing this, our proposal has the first clarity and it can be very well taken or considered by the investor or the banker. First of all, it makes their work much more easier. So this is, I feel, the first challenge which we have to realize, which we have to plan or mitigate when we conceptualize our organization and our product. Passion, yes, indeed passion is kept separate. With the passion we cannot survive, we cannot live. At the end of the day, we need vitamin M, that is the money, to drive, to get into the market, to fly in the market. We cannot walk in the market because already hundreds of people are behind us. We have to keep running in the market to retain our present position. That is what is the first challenge which we have. So I mean the first challenge I am addressing it, probably one by one we can go for the next step. This is what my humble opinion, as many startups has to realize themselves when they are starting up a company or a product. It can match any scenario.
Great, thank you. So some of the experience I've had sort of over the past year has been challenges with startups actually getting the funding. So they go down a certain path, they get to a certain point, and then the funding gets pulled. And the startups are now left in a scenario where they think things are moving ahead, and all of a sudden everything comes to a dead stop. But on the other side of that, I've been to reverse pitching, where we've got investors who are sort of pitching to entrepreneurs to say, this is the kind of companies or ideas we look to invest in, so come and speak with us. And I think that sort of sent a very confusing message across the board for me, because it was like, well, we're trying to get funding for some of these startups, we're not succeeding, but yet, like you said, there is money available, but why are the two not sort of syncing together? And where do we need to go to find the right people to speak to?
I suppose, how big is the whole really? Generally out there you can get a lot of people that are saying that they have funding and they have money to give out. In my experience from this sector, they tend to have the promise of money to invest, but they may not find the particular niche where the funding is allowed to go, for argument's sake. So it could be, we get in funds from a family office, and their remit is, look, we're interested in tech, but we want it from the medical side. So we put out that, look, we're looking for projects, medical tech, what's out there. Two things tend to happen. Number one, people tend to read or hear what they want. So they see the tech part and they forget about the medical. Or they have something that's nothing to do with medical and they try and make it medical to fit the funding. So the initial conversations that we tend to have with people would come from the fact, yeah, look, we have funding available, what are you doing? We're building an app, or we're building up, whatever the case would be. We say fine, we go along, there's a couple of meetings, send us in, the people leave, everybody feel we had a good meeting. Information comes in, it's nothing like what we talked about at the start. And it can be very frustrating for the people looking for the funding, but it can be equally as frustrating from the financial banking side as well, as it takes a lot of time, due diligence, compliance. There's a lot of moving parts. I do believe the main issue from my experience has been the actively listening to what I'm selling and to what I want to buy. And I think if people were more honest and open, I think it would save a lot of time, and it would actually stop doors getting closed on a lot of other people. But there's no easy fix for this, as you know. It's when you're looking for funding and you're a startup, it's knocking on doors. It's flying around, as I do, trying to get funds in to invest out. You've got to go knocking. I've never had somebody knock on my door and say to me, "Good morning, Michael. There's 20 million for you. Have a great day." Lovely. I love it. It just doesn't happen. And if you really believe in what you're doing and you've done the groundwork, you need to prepare to put the groundwork in. Because even when you get the funding, it doesn't get any easier. It gets harder. So maybe it's a good start to show that it's not going to be an easy journey.
So just following on from that, so what do you look for when you're sort of looking at funding a tech entrepreneur and their idea? Are there specifics you look for before you make that decision?
Definitely. From my perspective, one thing I hate to see is when I sit in front of someone looking for funding and they've done a couple of weeks' work on it, and then they're telling me they're going to take a salary of 70,000 for the first year, and they need money for it because they have to go to a conference and book hotels. We generally look at, we're here to do the project. We're not here to fund your lifestyle. If that's family and friends you need to go to start, it's family and friends you need to go to start. It's savings. You're not just investing in a product, you're also investing in the person. And it will really be what they come across at the start and how they present it. We've invested, and I've helped arrange finance for people who their products were terrible, but they were a good investment, and it came off quite well. Rather than having a good product but a bad person behind it, no matter how good the product is, it'll never work.
And then from your perspective, from a founder, tech entrepreneur, like you said, you've had a few startups in your time. What kind of challenges have you faced getting that funding, or has it been very successful every time?
Wonderful. That itself is $1 million question for every one of us actually. If we know this trick of trade, I think he will be very busy in signing the proposals for all of us here, and we will be standing in a queue. That is very much true, and was very candid and open and bluntly telling this is the problem of startup. It was very appreciable, and actually that is the case actually for us. First of all, the thing is that fund is available. Fine. If that doesn't mean that it can be donated. We have to sell ourselves or our product or a tool to get that fund. That is the difficult job actually. As even the fund doesn't come to him, as he said, it just doesn't knock his door, and in the morning bags are kept in his door and okay, you can use it. But he has to sell. He has to give a proper proposal. So that's a chain actually. So what we have to do is first of all do a small analysis of our ideology before we do anything. Before we start even anything. Put on paper what is your idea. Okay? What is it we are going to do? And what is your skin in it? What is your investment in it? Or you started looking at it at a bootstrap model first of all to do a small MVP? Do you have the guts? Do you have the patience? Do you have the team or a knowledge for it first of all? That's very, very important for us because we have to stand in their shoes to understand what is the ecosystem behind this first of all. Is my concept good? Fine. Is it good? So where is the real market for it? Is the market today? Or you are going to speak about 2 years? It's not going to work. We have to live for today first of all. So we are not developing a product which is going to say that after 2 years my product is going to do wonderful. Fine, after 2 years we does not even know what is going to be the growth of this particular industry. Whether it is going to be there or another COVID 4.0 is going to come and disrupt the entire market. We don't even know because it is unpredictable. Even our business proposal is unpredictable. We all know very well. Right? So we have to understand the reality as a startup. As a startup, I also faced this in my earlier startup, which I started as an IT division services. I used to speak very nice about my startup as if I am the one who is doing wonders. And people started questioning me, are you somebody unique in solving a problem? And I was thinking, you have a problem, you tell me what is your problem, I will solve it. And he said, why should I tell you my problem? You have come to my desk to provide a solution, so you must be knowing my problem, right? Why should we waste? That gave me a spark. I said, fine, okay, I have to do this reverse engineering first of all. Understand what is the problem of yours. Then start all the assignments or answers what we have in our mind. So first thing is when you decide your idea, do a small competitive analysis limited to your knowledge. I don't say limited to your knowledge, everything is there in our phone. And one more thing I would like to tell you is before we do a proposal, just Google it. For all nonsense or good sense, we have every application already developed and it is there in Google. You can at least test 10 applications for your need before you decide anything. Correct? Yep. So we doesn't need a technical typewriter or a resource person to do our thing. Now understand, yes, this tool is there, that tool is there, XYZ is there. Still this industry is facing a problem? Okay, what is the problem? Then get into this problem. Understand the reality. Then come into an ideology. Okay, that is the first practice which we have to do. This will ensure your confidence first of all. So that is one biggest challenge which we have to do. And the another one is once we identify the problem and we are confident that yes, this is going to be a solution for it. Now go for a competitive analysis. Whether is there any competitors already available? How are they offering the service? What is that they have left right now? That can be our catch point. So start your projections from there. Then you get connected to the market. By this time you know where do you stand, and by this time you will also know what is your market position. You will be 10% in another once you launch your beta version. Or another question from here is, what is your readiness to go for the market? That is again a challenge. Okay, I and my brother-in-law, I and my brother, we are working already in another company. Every night we are going to work because I need to earn my bread. So if you are concerned about your bread, butter and jam, no investor will come for your rescue. Okay, that we have to understand. There is only a thin line between an employee and an employer. That's a very thin line. Somebody tells you to work, that is employee. You tell yourself, you boost yourself, you get up yourself in the morning and work, that is employer. That's it. If you are fainted, you have to wake up, you have to pour water in your face and you have to go to work. That's an employer. That's the kind of a responsibility. So that's a thin line. So you have to risk yourself, first of all. What is your risk in it? What is your commitment in it? What is your funding in it? Even it can be 1 lakh or 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs. Okay, am I going to start with this and provide an MVP, minimum viable product? And is this MVP workable or just like a PPT? This is the first calculative risk for any innovation or any tool or any product or any problem solving. A startup or a leader or an entrepreneur must judge. When we properly do this homework, we are winning the second step, and we can confidently go to Mr. Mike and tell, yes, I did this, this is a proof, this is the real market scenario. So he'll have 20% of confidence on us to consider our proposal. So I'm making my life is very simple, and I'm also trying to make Mr. Mike's life very simple in judging our proposal. So this is another challenge which we have to make it happen.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, some of the challenges I've seen over the past year again have been, you're too early for funding. And it's like, well, I've got this really great idea, and I am so passionate about it. I know it's going to be a success, but every door I knock on tells me I'm way too early, even though I'm showing that, I've got some traction, or it's one of those things for an entrepreneur to hear. It's like, it's very demotivating. How do you assess whether somebody's too early before you give them funding, or what would you advise them to do if that is the scenario you come across?
As you're saying, that reminds me of something that was said to me a long, long time ago when I started in this industry. There was somebody looking for funding for a small company. And I went to my manager and I said, it's very exciting. He's sure it's going to work. And he said to me, Mike, most people are sure that they're innocent in prison. He said, generally, it doesn't always work out that way. Look, as the good doctor had said here, if you're going to give your time up for something, you need to make sure that it's correct and you've done your groundwork. I'll tell you a little story. 2 years ago, I was asked to help a startup in the UK. And we had communicated by Zoom for maybe 2 months, 8 weeks, and a lot of emails and messages, and late nights asking me to look through stuff. But he never went into true depth of what he wanted to do, and he would always ignore the question. But he was a really nice young guy. So we kept on going. I flew to London, looked at the proposal, and what he actually wanted to do was he wanted to NFT property sales that are going through auctioneer's office, so you can cut down the cost to resell them in the future. I said, it's fantastic, I love the idea. Is anybody else doing it? Nope. So as he's telling me, I Googled it, there was 4 other companies doing it. And I'm saying, there's 4 companies, and he looks at my laptop and he goes, yeah, I never did that. Right. How long have you worked on this? 2.5 years now. So, you don't want to dishearten anybody. But at the same time, the grass is not always greener on the other side. And it's very true what you were saying a few moments ago. Working for somebody and waking up and knowing that you're going to get paid next Friday is a nice security. You may have a great idea, but the marketplace is not always that kind. Generally, you're the last person to get paid when you work for yourself. And that can be more disheartening, soul destroying, and can ruin your life for years to come. So this tough bit that you go through to start trying to get the funding and trying to get it off, as you well know, these are some of the biggest learning steps that you need. You know, for every one Mark Zuckerberg, there's 1,000 guys who are penniless, broke, relationships broke down, purely because the groundwork wasn't done at the start. So I agree, I've come across fantastic ideas that we couldn't fund. Wanted to fund, but couldn't fund, from multiple reasons. Not enough homework done on it. The numbers just don't add up, no matter what way you look at it. You know, they're barely going to break even, and you're saying, so you're going to work 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week, and at the end of it, after you pay everything, what are you going to live on? I figured that out afterwards. I know the next 2 years is going to be a great success. And it may be, but from our perspective, providing the finance or the investment into it, that's a hell of a risk to take. I can leave the money sit in the bank and Deutsche Bank will give me 8-9% on it for no risks. So if I'm going to give it to you because I believe in you, I really need to see what we're going to get here. And it's not just about getting return on the capital. There's more to it than that. It's also, you don't want to damage this person moving forward. You know, you can give them a bit of a card, but if you know that in 2 years' time when it comes back to you for funding, you're probably not going to get it. A very good company to look at around this was WeWork. This guy was phenomenal. He could talk anybody into giving money, basically. But there was so much money in the sector at that time. He wasn't an office provider. He wasn't a realtor. He was trying to build an Apple. He was trying to build a way of life. It's an office. You know, who would give him this kind of money? And knowing how that sector works for the service office providers, it was crazy. I was asked by one of the big banks to do some consultancy and to meet him, because the bank did not want to be associated with the station. They asked me to go speak with him. I did. He was a phenomenal guy. I went back to the bank and said, well, he's a great guy, but I don't know what he does. I still don't know what he is. And that's the problem. You need to be very defined when you're looking for finance. You need a clear path. This is where we will be in 6 months' time. That will be in 12 months' time. Don't build the wall so high that you can't climb it afterwards. There's no point in telling me, look, we can pay it back in 2 years' time, or we're going to have a return of X. I sit with you in the next quarter, how's it going? It was a disaster. So-and-so child got sick. I broke my leg. Whatever the case would be. That's a problem then for us. Because we have KPIs. We need to meet our side of it as well. So you can't have too much movement. There is some leeway. Like, nobody knows about a COVID coming or whatever. These things happen in life, and you can assess for that. But the main issue that we will have is people over-promising, not knowing their marketplace. The numbers are not correct, and so on.
Great. And have you had challenges, like, or different challenges in different countries or regions where you've had to provide funding?
Yeah. Yeah, look, you know, I've worked everywhere from Ireland, London, New York, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Uganda, Dubai, Kuwait, a couple of years in Russia, 8 years in Eastern Europe. Cross-cultural differences when it comes to finance and how they operate, how they think, how governments react is extremely important. And what we would see as high risk here Eastern Europe, it's not so much high risk. So even from a banking perspective, you need to think about it in the corporate structure you put behind your company. And that's what we would look as well from funding. Have you really do your homework on this? You know, mining operations, for argument's sake, in Romania is seen as a very high-risk banking scenario in Western Europe. There's huge issues. And then there are some countries where the risk of investing is extremely high. Extremely high. And unfortunately, especially some parts of Africa and so forth, you know, you can have a fantastic investment. Really, the numbers, everything add up. You fund it, you go there a few months later, they're gone, the money's gone, nothing has happened. And these are just problems you're going to have in every walk of life. And as many speakers as I've heard here over the last 2 days, it always comes up. There's always bad people out there always looking to do bad things. You're never going to change that. And that is built into the costing of finance today. Because from a banking perspective, you know, the last thing we want to do is lose money, because it's not our money at the end of the day, it's somebody else's. We need to ensure and make sure that we can get this back. And that's going to be key.
And then in terms of like, as a founder and entrepreneur, what kind of challenges have you faced if you try to launch a product in different countries and then you need funding for that? How have you experienced any challenges, or does it come across as an opportunity for funders that you're expanding?
Great, yes. The challenges of finding the right funding is almost similar in every country, because the problem is almost similar with all the startup groups. So that's one thing, is that many startup founders fail to do a small calculation of what is their expense of acquiring per client for their service, which I'm sure 90% of the startup people don't do this homework. First thing is that we put projections, fine, we put numbers, we are actually overworking on the numbers. We should not do that. Be stringent in your numbers, be stringent in your expenses, be factual in your numbers and achievements. Once you put this, now do a small calculation, customer acquisition charge or a price for each service you do or each implementation you do or whatever you sell. What is that? Without knowing that, it is very difficult for you to finalize or comment on your proposal by yourself, because you don't know your profit much. You don't know, without knowing this calculation, you don't know which way or what is the right way to approach your customer or your lead structures. This is one thing which we have to definitely think. Why? Because, as per telling, none of us now in this century can build another Apple. Please don't even dream right now. We can build another Apple. We can build another Amazon. We can build a similar Amazon. We can build a similar Apple, but we cannot replace it. So already there is when we are comparing ourselves with these, there is already a target or a limelight which is set. So you have to cross that particular expectation to get a realistic answer. So there is always an add-on cost in acquiring your customer, because you have to show up yourself still more better than this particular level of saturation. So that is very important. I would like to spell out a few points. If we are able to think on this, plan on this in our proposal, I am sure 75% of us can easily convince your respective investor. One thing is that, please look at, again I am telling you, please look at your market potential. Market potential does not mean sales volume. What is the life cycle of a product? And you have to start your selling in a short time. You should not project yourself. I get my funding right now, I'll be launching it after 36 months or 48 months. This is not going to work, because market is rapid, market is changing every day. So now first understand your market potential, keeping at par 6 months duration, whatever is going to happen. Influential factors that might affect your product or your sales into the market, and who are all the competitors there. The next point is that revenue growth quality. Revenue growth and quality. Revenue growth is what you put your fantastic numbers, yes, fine. You put your numbers and you can convince it, but an investor knows what is reality. If the investor is also in that specific market, they know very well. That's why they have got a growth and they are now investing on you. And what is the growth perspective? What is your curve going to be? What is your break-even time going to be? Break-even in the sense of revenue, investment, and also what is your profit, when it is going to start. So growth does not mean that revenue growth alone. What is how your product is going to scale or turn the curve. So that is very important. You have to consider this. Next thing, have a proper team. Most of us are failing in the team actually. And any startup should not be one-man company. Please, it was earlier people believed one man, but right now, if I am an investor, I will not believe a one-man company. There is a huge risk. There is a very huge risk. I will not believe one-man company. Even if you do fantastic, fantabulous product, you are going to change the upside world. I don't believe. That's a huge risk for me. For which I will invest in a small place where I get a minimal investment and I will sit happily. Because I am sure I am going to get this after 2 years or 3 years. So don't be one-man company. Have a team. And never ever have just a developer in your organization. I would like to say, if it is fringing on you, I would like to say developers are just dignified typewriters. They are not your problem solvers. We are all startup companies nowadays working to solve a problem, not to create a problem. Okay? Have people who can travel with you, who can substantiate your ideas, who can play a devil's advocate role in your company. That's how your product will grow. So give equal respect to your team members. Have a right team with you who can travel with you and build a fantastic product. It can be a very simple problem. It can be a very simple problem which helps life smoother of your audience. But how we are going to give this? What is the journey of yours in giving this product to them and solve the problem, and when are they going to come out? And what is their achievement? And if you implement this, what is a cycle, short cycle in which they see an achievement or they see a traction? Right? These are all very, very important for us because everything is available in internet right now. Whatever I speak, whatever you speak, whatever you do, whatever you think, somebody has already done in internet. We are very late. When we are querying some technical things today, I would be surprised to see some 10 to 15 guys already would have faced this problem 2-3 years back. I am such a stupid guy, I am facing only today. That guy has already googled this and put his answers 3 years or 2 years back when it was very native. When I was not even aware that this technology has evolved. So that's how the world is going on. Right? The another one is, there should be some uniqueness in your product or your service. It can be a product, you sell a product as a service or a service as a product, anything, whatever commodity. What is the uniqueness which you have? There should be some uniqueness. It should not be repetitive. If it is repetitive, why should you come? Already there is one person. He is doing it. What am I going to do? Am I a game changer here? I am going to be one among 100, one among 1,000 or one among 1 million. I am not going to be an idealistic person or any person. What is uniqueness there? Uniqueness can be in the way of answering the problem, or in the way of approaching a problem, or in the way of telling there is going to be a problem, anything. Making it smart, that's it. Your logic can be unique. Any industry. This is a common factors for any industry. We do a research in genetic engineering, yes, this is adaptable. We do for manufacturing industry, yes. We do for banking industry, yes. This is adaptable. Right? Next thing is competition. And again, are we able to sustain ourselves in the existing competition? How long you can sustain? How long we can sustain? That's one question. If I am starting a startup because I am energetic today, I am not facing any failures. So this is my day one. Fine. These are the competitors. I can survive. 5-6 months have gone. You have faced lot of failures. You have battery has come down, will you be able to sustain at that point of time? Because you are 100 meters behind your successor. Will you be able to first meet him and then cross him? That's a long journey. Do you have fuel for it? I mean, fuel can be anything. You have a team for it. You have an attitude for it. You have an aptitude for it. You have money for it. Or do you have a story? You have a track for it. Okay? The another problem is, yes, I'm sure everybody can build a product. I'm sure. We are all, because we are all here, we have seen lots of things, we have come across a lot of failures and we have succeeded everything. What is your customer base right now before you go to an investor? Do you have any success story in your place? This is very important. Sir, you give me money, sir, I have built the product. It took lot of patience, it is my passion, I have put in my all asset into it, this and that, everything into it, this is fantastic, this is solving. Yes sir, I understand, fine, very good, I appreciate it. He was telling, they don't want to deject you, they will motivate you, fine, yes. Get me one example where you've already solved a problem. Anybody's problem. Is there any success story? Do you have any white paper? Right? How do I believe your product? I'm an investor, I'm not your customer. I need to know your story, right? You have any one success story in your relevant industry, or a one white paper which says at least 5% of my problem is solved within this time and it is evolving. Do we have that before we go to any investor? That is your first projection assertiveness. If we say, I will build a palace when you give me money, no, we are failing. No investor will come forward if you are lucky enough and that investor believes only you, not your product. I'm very open and candid in my opinion because I've faced all this stuff. So you have to know where you stand and you have to be very confident in problem solving of what you have done. So homework is very, very important. And another thing is scalability. Okay, I built a product. Expiry date is 1 year from now. After that, I will again build another product. Very good, sir. I appreciate your confidence. I appreciate you have a lot of time. I'm so happy you can build hundreds of products every year. But please seek a very good investor who is aligning with your mindset. Because whatever we build, there should be a scalability. There should be a growth. We can't say that I will grow only up to 30 years. After 30 years, okay, fine, this is more than enough for me. I will just be in this state, right? We can't say that, right? So there should be a scalability for our product. Scalability is directly proportional to our market acquisition, the client acquisition, the revenue growth model, and adapting to the growth of technology or competitiveness in the market. So this is, there are a lot of factors which relates to the scalability. And last but not least, industry specifications, policies. How does it affect or it appreciates our product or our service? This is very, very important to project. We have to mention that in our proposal also. These are 7 key factors. If we can do this properly and frame a document perfectly with consciousness, I'm sure 90% of us can succeed getting your desired investment, whatever may be the number. Because every point has a mark, every point tells the investor that he is in the safe hands. Not only on the man, not only on the resources, also on the technology, which can redeem him the points in terms of revenue. So this is something which I wanted to share as most of us face the challenges as a startup. Even though you do a bootstrap model, this is very, very important because money is always a money. It's either your money or somebody's money, right? I hope I've given a proper explanation. I believe. Most of us believe.
You know, there's a saying, money is never lost. You just need to find a new owner.
Right. True. Exactly true.
No, that's some really, really valid and great points you've made there. But you did speak a lot about the team. Can't be a one-man band, and you know the team makeup is important. So, are there key roles, one from an investor perspective, that you look for in a startup when you fund them, and two, how important? Well, I know how important it is, but the chemistry of the founding team, because I've had experience before where I've had a startup and there have been two other co-founders, but we went for various different challenges with funders, but because it was getting very demotivating, you know, speaking to so many different investors who weren't ready to invest because it was early stage, it kind of changed the dynamic between the co-founders as well. So as time went on, you could start to see there was like, you know, changes within the co-founders, their attitude, their passion towards the startup. How do you look at that from an investment perspective? And then also, yeah, what the key roles?
I think you've answered it yourself. If it's too early for us to invest, that's generally the reason. We're trying to see how you're going to gel together. It's a very good point you brought up earlier also about the team. You know, it's more important to know what you can't do rather than what you can do. And then to make sure you have the right people around you that you can work with. To give the confidence to the investor that if we're going to give you money and support you, you know, apart from the product, as I said earlier, we're not just investing in a product, we're investing in the team, in that person. If you get sick, if something happens to you, what's going to happen tomorrow morning? What's next? How can you scale it? Are you planning to, are you going to get to a certain stage and you're going to start doing acquisitions? Are you going to do it more homegrown? It's all this information is what's key at the start. And you know, from an investor's perspective, I understand that there's a million other things going on in your head, and I kind of worry about that next year. But I'm worried about the money I'm going to give you today, how we're going to get that back, and if we do give it to you, and you have problems, do I need to come up with more money to give it to you then? You know, it's like people who gamble. If you go to the horse races and you're losing money and you're constantly chasing the last horse, you're never going to make it. Banking is quite simple. We want to give you money, we want to invest, but we want it back. You know, and we're going to charge you a little bit on the top. There's a little bit of cream we need. So it's not difficult. The key here is to make sure that you have the numbers, you have the business plan, you know what's going to happen if something happens, and what's my next move? And it's not difficult. We make it difficult, but it's truly not difficult.
Anything to add to that?
I would like to add one more point. Always have an exit plan for yourself and also for your investor. So that's very important for you to decide on the day one, because life is always going to be, there is always an end for all of us. So even for our product or for our company, we are not going to live till our death in the same company, or we are not going to run. There is always scalability, and there is always moving. The technology is involved and the extension is there. So always plan your exit strategy, yourself and also for an investor. Why I am saying this for yourself is, when you determine that you are going to an investor, already your incremental death is happening in your company, because you have to lose your stake. What is the volume of losing a stake? That's a question mark which you have to decide. So you should not do an overvaluation, you should not do your underestimated valuation of the company. Be very realistic. Be very realistic in your company. If you feel that your company or your product has to grow, be realistic and you have to sacrifice your stake in it. Definitely. So that gives strength for your product or your service to grow, and you're always there. You're always in some place. A owner or an inventor or an inventor or a startup owner cannot travel in the same product or in the same company for more than 10 years. Then you burden for that product. Please mark these words. Because your passion, your thoughts will block the growth. So you must always have an exit plan. So don't think that this is my product, I'm going to live with this product. You can't even live with your wife for so long. So then comes the product actually. So let's be very realistic. You have to go to the next step. Yes, this is fine, I'm going to take this much of stake, I'm going for the next cycle or the next one. So be very clear in your company or in your product. Don't put your blood or any emotions into that. That's just a stupid product. You are going to sell it to solve the problem. Come out of it and go to the next step so you can live. Or else your ECG is straight line. You are dead, I mean, even though you are living. Okay?
Can I ask, could you have done some mentoring? From the mentoring of a startup to the financial institution going to give the investment, what was your most frustrating part looking at it?
So as I mentioned, like being told we're too early, and even though we've kind of proved that there is a market there is a problem we're trying to solve, which is very real. We've got the right team and the expertise. We've also shown that we've got people who are ready to use the product, signed up in advance, and then going in front of an investor and being told you're too early. And it's just like, well, how do we get this off the ground? Because we've tried bootstrapping, we've looked at crowdfunding, we've looked at incubators and accelerators, etc. But each time we're being told by investors you're too early, and I think that's really frustrating as an entrepreneur.
If you looked at all those options and everyone told you the same thing, there's probably something there.
Yeah. And I think that's where I realised it was because we were told no so many times. The team dynamic changed, people's motivation changed. So when we're now going in front of the next investor, they're kind of picking that up in the team. So, and I think that's what ended up, ruining the project altogether.
There's I think I've told to many people, there's no point in paying an accountant if you don't listen to the advice he's going to give you. You might as well not ask him, keep the money, just do your own thing. Sometimes by going to institutions and asking them, and they're telling you two areas not going to work, we can be wrong. Of course we can be. But if enough of people is telling you something, there must be something in it as well, or something that we're not seeing, that you're not. There's something that you have that you're not telling us that we cannot see, and it's frustrating for everybody.
Yeah.
But the world only works if money is moving around.
100%. Yeah, and I think at that stage, I kind of understood that this is probably not going to go anywhere, and at that point, I took the decision to exit, and I'm glad I did.
I have a point for your question. Many have faced it, even I have faced it in my first entrepreneurship actually. So that I decided something, that before I go and sit in front of any investor, I wanted to show a track record, realistic cash inflow statement. Because once we are sure that once we acquire 1 lakh or 10 lakhs or Indian say $1 million, say for an example with our MVP. So once we get the fund, easily 10 times of revenue can be easily handled. More than 10 times is going to be a hard work. So the first attraction, whatever we show to the investor, I'm sure 10 times can be made within a short period of time. 10 times of that revenue. That is, if everything, whatever we discussed right now, are very well mitigated and planned. So when you are able to do that, investors cannot deny in our face that you are too early, because you are showing them the requirement and reachability immediately in the market. So in spite of it, if they are denying it, the reason is only that he is not interested in this particular domain. So we have to exit from there.
So I think we've reached the end of our conversation now, but any final words or advice for tech entrepreneurs looking for funding?
So Mr. Mike, any approval for you for my proposal? I'll be very happy.
Look, I'm an Irishman. Meet me in the bar and we'll definitely have a look over it for you.
Okay. Great. Any questions before we wrap up?
What do you think is the best way to keep the
Nothing other than your successful track record.
Yeah, sorry. While in Vegas, what do you think? What's the best suggestion do you have to keep the investor relationship post the funding stage? So how should you collaborate after funding?
Very simple. Show them the track record and success of your milestones which you have projected to the investor. That's more than enough. They'll be very happy to discuss with you for your second round.
I see. Right. Thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Dr. Gopi. It's been very mind-opening conversations that we had. We see very, very big institutions like Salesforce and Meta or Google, wherein there was a lot of investor pressure being added on. Basically taking an activist role, saying profits is our motive, and they have been letting go of their teams. As you're saying, team is what actually makes you a very good startup or those kinds. So when we're talking about startup funding, it's one thing, but how do big enterprises, the names that I took, will have to look at investors being moderators or trying to come in and make a policy as such?
Fantastic question. But in the question itself, there are two sectors which you are defining. Startup is something today's story. And when we talk about companies which are already established, they have seen profits 10 times, 20 times, 100 times. So their problems are completely different. All the stakeholders have achieved more than what they planned to take as a return on investment. Now as a startup, yes, even as startup, it is very difficult to retain a resource. That's the chemistry, as she said, that's a chemistry which we have between our team, the stakeholders, our team. They have to believe us, and you have to believe them. That is the only story, because you can't pay like what Salesforce or Apple is doing. Okay, so it's a belief. Your belief is nothing but on one-to-one. It is the story which they have to believe, the traction. So we should not compare with organizations which are already established, because they are fine, done, they have earned everything. If they even quit right now or today, they are not going to lose anything.
Thank you. Any more questions? Great. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. And
Thank you.
if you want any money, Mike's your man.